Everyone, and welcome. Today we are talking about encoded stardust, identity stripping, worthiness recovering from the collective, and a cool Arcturian transmission that can help us truly be just that fractal of source that we actually are.
Awesome. Well, I'm Lyanca.
And I'm Jeneth Lyanca, and this is How Has a Morning Show.
That's right. Welcome. We're excited to have you today. And yeah, it's a really good lead into some of the information that we were talking about last time, and really wanted to expand on this conversation as we head right into our really big Cosmos and Mystique summit that we have at the end of May. But before that, we'll get started with a little Mystic Space weather news. Yes. So for today, we have, there were two large X-class solar flares yesterday that hurled into space. It won't hit Earth, but it will hit Mars. And listen to this. It says, according to NASA, NASA's model, the CME, which is a coronal mass ejection, which is that blast, will reach the red planet on May 18th. The impact could spark global auroras, and listen, and erode a small amount of the planet's carbon dioxide atmosphere. Isn't that interesting? So it's interesting what will be going on in space after that as well. But the reason why I brought up with the X-class solar flares is because they are the largest solar flare on the scale. And when we have these types of solar flares, we do get a lot of stuff that is coming up for release. And we are in two types of peaks. One of them is in the 11-year peak, and the other is in the 100-year peak. So within the 11-year peak, we are at the peak of 100 years. So once in 100 years is how far we are expanding here. So if we know that when the sun releases these big mass coronal ejections, this is a lot of photons of light that are blasting the Earth. And so according to Divine Energy Works on Instagram, so I'm gonna throw a little bit of love over that way, but she states, May 15th, 2025, we are no longer walking between timelines. We are being solar fused into one that aligns with our highest soul truth. These back-to-back X-class solar flares, the X1 and on May 13th, and the X2.7 on May 14th, arriving just after the Scorpio full moon, are not random bursts of energy. They are solar decrees, ignition points, if you will, of the divine will, accelerating the DNA nervous system and emotional field to match the frequency of your next evolution. These are photonic strike codes. Ooh, interesting, right?
Oh.
Dissolving veils. Where have we heard that already? We've been talking a lot about that, right? Outdated karmic overlays and protective programs. Dissolving these, y'all. This is a timeline jump on all caps in different colors. Encoded in a solar flare, irreversible, undeniable, and already underway. So just giving you heads up about what's going on in our space, weather news. And to remind you to do all of the things that I always talk about, which is to ground yourself, give yourself water, and always give yourself grace. And that's what I got. Mystic
Fabulous.
Weather news. Yes.
And that goes together with some of the cool things that I discovered at the Aerospace Museum. One of the things is we went into the planetarium and they talked all about the solar systems and the different environments on planets. And did you know that the Saturn ring, that's just like a ton of baby moons? And I thought that was
Oh,
pretty
that
cool.
is interesting.
Yeah. And also, Venus doesn't have an atmosphere. So it's like constantly being stripped away of its whatever it used to have. But they actually learn about planet Earth and global warming by observing these other planets.
Exactly why I brought up that, and thank you for sharing that. That's exactly why I brought up the effects of the X-class solar flare hitting Mars and stripping away a little bit of its
But they
planet,
actually
carbon dioxide atmosphere. So that's interesting. And I think we're going to learn a lot about our own atmosphere by observing that particular, these two X-class solar flares hitting Mars. So it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be, a direct hit over there.
Yeah.
We get a lot of data. Yeah. It
No
also,
kidding.
brings up a lot for me because I know that anytime that we get hit with the X-class solar flare, depending on the magnitude, we can lose, all GPS systems. That happens pretty often. It goes out in the like different hemispheres. And of course, you see those auroras that come down all the way, lower parts of the earth that you
Mhm.
see like, you see the aurora borealis in like Texas and you're going, what? And so that also affects the magnetosphere. And so when we have stuff going all crazy with the magnetosphere, that really affects a lot of nature. And so a lot of nature operates through the magnetosphere as far as like birds fly, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, and it affects us as well. So even if it's not from just an ascension standpoint, it is a definitely how do we operate in our own lives and why do we feel so misdirected sometimes? And that's just giving us more awareness.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious if you were to type in the chat, all of you, on a scale of 1 to 10, and just kind of how aligned you are in your life or how misdirected you are in your life, where would you
Hmm.
put yourself on the scale? And maybe you list it for today, and then maybe you list it for like kind of in general this month or something like that. Because I don't know about you, Lianka, but sometimes I have like this, I'm on purpose. Oh my God, I'm on purpose. I'm on purpose. I'm on purpose. And then I will have moments and weird conversations with some regular people. And all of a sudden, I'm like, maybe I'm just really delusional, right? It's like, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake. And then it makes me kind of look at things and take myself, almost cut myself down. I mean, talk about worth a little, right? Because I'm like, maybe I am a little delusional. And not that that's right or wrong, but maybe that is really for just an awareness for us to look at. How can we come more into what we actually know is true in a really beautiful, vulnerable way without making it, spiritual superiority or
Uh-huh.
significance that I channel or this or that or the other. So Paula says that she feels more like a 7.5. And Shara says right now a 7, but in general a 9. Who else has tapped in? Uh,
8 to 10, lots happening now. Awesome. I'm usually
yeah,
7 to 10, depending on
8.
when you ask.
I feel like an
Yeah.
8. I feel like in general I'm an 8, but I would like the communication of my 8 to come online a little more so that
Mm.
it's really received. Because sometimes I've got this cloud of doubt that I don't even want to say that it's the word of doubt, but it seems that there are people that it's like the tall poppy syndrome that can cut me down a little too easy still in my life. I mean, here's the
Or maybe
raw.
that's the perception of how you receive it, right? Maybe
Yeah,
maybe it could be constructive criticism, but are
right.
finding it as
Well,
being
it's
cut
actually
down?
lately it seems like I'm becoming more and more in standing my ground since I have these conversations.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's
That's great.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's no significance about either way. There's just awarenesses, correct? Right? Like, they're not really good or bad, just more awarenesses for us to really get free from some of this pre-programming, whether that's tall poppy or whether that's shrinking down in your identity. A lot of them are attached to how we perceived or perceive ourselves from either from one time place, like as a young person, and then something happened, and now you perceive yourself this way,
Yeah.
or unconsciously you're operating from this way. And yet, all of this is just more information for us to create a different outcome.
Hmm.
Paula, yeah. Oh, yeah, good. Well, sending you lots of love, sending you lots of love. Now I know there's some days where I feel like, it ain't today.
Today.
Today is don't mess with me today. Today ain't
Well,
today.
hopefully in this call we'll shift a lot of these things.
Yes.
So from let me just maybe I'll just put out these topic points, Lyanca, and we can riff with them with
Oh,
the audience too.
yeah,
So
let's do it.
I told Lyanca that this seemed more kind of as my higher self, not necessarily an Arcturian. And then I thought, dude, that's identity in itself. What am I doing? So, but this information is just a grand awareness. Let's just put it out there.
Okay.
So here there were really four, I just made these like little tiny notes about these four things that came through when I tapped in after Tuesday's conversation. And one was we're not roles or labels. Identity is literally just defined by us or a job or culture or somebody telling us what our identity is. So that's topic one. Topic two is this we know, but it was nice hearing it from a higher source, that we're a fractal of source. And technically, at the core, we're this unique expression of our divine intelligence. And yet, it's just a matter of awakening it to that eternal sovereign consciousness. The number three topic is, and this is kind of my favorite because the words were so unique, but we're like a multi-dimensional selfhood. It was the word selfhood, which I've never even hardly heard, which,
Yeah.
basically is sort of this emphasis that each person exists simultaneously across many different timelines and many different dimensions. But the you in this reality is just this one layer of this that you've made and identified what that you is, which I thought was kind of freaking profound, and we can dive deeper into that. And then lastly, and it's kind of along the same topic, is identity is chosen rather than anything else. It's like you discover something about you. Like I was ambitious as a child, and my father then called me ambitious. So then I just started then choosing that that is me, and I just started playing that role. So those were kind of the little plays upon our identity conversation on Tuesday. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
you guys' thoughts about that. So, but I feel mostly it's the same kind of stuff. Like we need to look at where have we said, I am this, I am that, and self-identified instead
Mm,
of it being an I am to create. Right? And that
yeah.
is how we create, right? Do you see? And I just, did you get that? Do you get that? Like it's both ways. So if you are bullied in high school and somebody is constantly telling you that you are trash, you're worthless, you're ugly, you're fat, you should cut your hair, you have, you know, something about you, right? And then you take that and internalize it and you're like, oh, I am that, like through a discovery. Then how much of your life do you live upon that same lie? And I just think once I just keep diving in deeper and deeper with this, it just seems like more and more like, what? Like, who actually are we? So I'd love to open up this conversation a little bit more on where have you found that you have said, I am this, and maybe that I am is actually questionable. I mean, I think there are these I ams in a mystical, spiritual way, like I am a star seed, I am mystic. I mean, and those things resonate, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the other layers that from our past and maybe even past lives that are really unsupportive of us.
Yeah, in one of Dolores Cannon's books in the QHHT session, so she was communicating a lot with the extraterrestrials throughout, like, later in her career, and one of the light beings from the Galactic Federation was like, pointed to the skin and says, you make this so significant, but it's nothing. It is nothing. And I thought that we made racism when I first read it, right? But what it was really, when I went back and revisited the information, what it was really saying is that we're making our identity,
It's
this body significant. The reality that this body has, all of its experiences super significant, right? I'm Lyanca, I'm Hispanic. I live in the United States. I have a family, like all of these
a
pieces.
mother. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mother, all of these things. However, I woke up in East Austin, right? Whatever those things are, right? I woke up, I remember I was born. Whatever those things. Whoa.
Whoa, you've already changed your identity. I love it.
Yeah, right.
I woke
Right when
up
I got
white.
here. But yeah, so all of these things, I thought that it was meaning that, oh, we're making, and I was like, yeah, we're making race so significant. But what it meant that we're making, and I don't want to be downplay the experience of humanity, but like the human experience, but we're making, and they called the meat suit. You're making this meat suit in a later words, and this
Mhm.
meat suit and your experience means so much. And the idea here is to strip away all of that, or just find moments to strip away all of that and say, okay, what would I do? What would I be? What could I just be? If
Right.
I didn't have any of this, if I didn't have any other experience, if I were to open my eyes right now and I just landed here and if I had just woke up in East Austin, right? Like what would I be doing in this day? Who could what could I do? How
Right.
would I approach? And you even see this information again in the law of one, where it has you strip away, the very first things it says is, I look out at this window and the thing that I see on this street, out of this window, on that street, are real. And I was thinking, when I first read it, I'm like, what? I was like, well, I look out of my window and I see everything just, normal. And I'm like, how is that not real? Well, what it really is saying is that we are creating this dynamic. And if you really think about it, if we really created everything, then even if you get into the simulation theory, then our perspective is only seeing what our minds have already processed. And
Hmm.
our minds are biologically tied to these bodies.
Yeah.
And our minds are processing everything that this body has experienced, and culturally, and ancestrally, and DNA, right? So all these things have already lined up to write all this stuff for this meat suit. Called Leon.
Yeah. And I can add a layer to that
Yeah, go ahead.
because I mean, where did the wrongness come in? The
Yeah,
wrongness comes in because you are actually following your heart, following that fractal source that you are. And yet people are saying, you're not that. You're not that. You're not that. Like from childhood, that you actually are Newtonian physics. You are this meat suit. This is how this earth works. And yet we have this inkling of this remembrance.
there you go.
We're not the only one where we're going, I am more than this. I am more than this. And we're just trying to almost prove it, in which they're like Newtonian physics say blah 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 blah, right? And I feel
Right.
that that's kind of just like the underlying wrongness that we have. Like we can't even truly be our entire expression because
I'll
we've
give
this
you
wrongness because we're not allowed to have these remembrance or my grandma's ghost stories, right?
exactly.
We're not supposed to have that. And there's a wrong
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, Joe says the wrongness comes from outside, somewhere else, someone
Someone
else.
else,
I'll give you an
someone else's
example.
point of view. It's funny,
Yeah,
Napoleon Hill said your opinions are, just like he didn't say stupid farts, but it sort of makes me think that, right? Someone else's opinion has nothing to do with you,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, I remember it's kind of like these dreams that I have and had recurring. And one of them was I was in my grandmother's like house where I grew up, and I was getting ready to take a shower. And whenever you're near water, things can always expand too. But I was getting ready to take a shower, so in my dream, and the next thing you know, I'm like crawling up the side, and I'm hanging out on the top where the shower curtain is, and I'm just hanging out there. Like I just floated up there and I was hanging out for whatever. And my grandma walks in the bathroom, and she's like, "Get down. I don't want them to know that you can do that." And I was like, "Oh." And I thought, she's like, "You're not supposed to be able to do that." As if like her soul was talking to me, and I didn't think anything of it. I was a little kid in my dream, just whatever. And I have other dreams where I'll be floating around and I'm like experiencing things, and I'm hanging out and I'm like, "Ooh, look what I can do." And I'm like, "Whoa, I can do this." And I'm like,
Levitate,
in around the
right?
house, and I'm just like doing stuff and this and that, and then someone will see me and I'm like, "Oh, I better get down."
Dude, do you remember that
There.
game like Stiff as a Board, Light as a Feather when
Yeah,
we
right,
were
right.
children? And it
I
was so
better,
weird because like
yeah,
you would lay there and just be, and they actually
yeah.
could lift you with this like lightness,
Yeah, idea. And that's
right?
because everybody, right, like young kids play it. We played it like a lot of girls did, like at 13, 14 during a sleepover. And you'd be like, light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Right.
But we all believed it,
Right. I
right?
mean, where did that
Or
come
we
from?
broke it by
I
being
mean,
too
or
scared.
we
Broke
didn't
it
believe it
by,
because we
by
had
being too
already
scared. I'd be like,
grown
oh, I don't
beyond
know.
it.
And everybody would be like freak out and run away.
Yeah.
But it was, a shared either belief or things that we did as kids as play, and
Yeah.
then it gets shunned out of us. It
Mm.
gets you like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And somehow I don't think that my grandma ever, obviously she didn't see me floating around the around the top of the ceiling of the bathroom, but and tell me to get down. But there are a lot of places where we get told and have been told through humanity not to express our psychic form, our abilities to literally float, right? To have these experiences. And really, the truth is that I could float, I could have a lucid dream, but I didn't know what that was at the time, right? So I could have gone around and seen things, and I really was probably having an experience, but I didn't. I immediately made myself wrong. And
Yeah.
where are we operating from those places?
Yeah.
Can anyone relate?
Totally. It's funny, some of the people in the chats, like, I remember
Yeah.
the child, this, that, and the other. You
Shara
should
said, I
have
have the
weighed me
same.
down,
I
man.
remember flying as a child. Yeah, Shara said, I have the same. I remember flying as a child and they made me wear shoes to wear me down. Oh, that's fascinating. Girl, that's fascinating. Wow. Ooh, that's so interesting. The shoes part is even interesting too, to weigh you down. Like they didn't want you to fly around.
Yeah.
Growing
Well,
up as a
listen,
devout,
yeah, as a devout Christian, none of that was
none
allowed.
of that was allowed. Yeah.
Well, and I think, that's where I came from. And
Yeah, you
it
were made
really
wrong for
wasn't.
playing.
It was like
Yeah.
you were even, and Ouija board,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
devil.
Yeah, my uncle and my aunt found out because they were like a lot more practicing, and they found out that my mom had got me a Ouija board. My mom, she's so mystical. She got me a Ouija board because she worked at the toy store. They were so upset that it made me feel wrong, right?
Yeah.
It made me feel
I
wrongness.
know. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I'm not touching it. And
Yeah,
and then I was made so wrong. I mean, you
yeah,
gotta think, no wonder there's been like 50 years for me to like truly become an expression of this. It's like
right?
I have this inner knowing, but if if along the way you keep getting knocked off, the what you think is true, then you start to go, well, is it really true? Other people don't agree with me, so maybe I am just a little delusional. And
Yeah.
maybe that's what's making my life fun, and I'm going to choose it anyway, and let's keep going.
Yeah, right. We
Yeah.
can be a different way. We can be all of ourselves without having to make ourselves feel guilty. Because I know sometimes that childhood no, that that slap
Yeah.
on the hand, it'll come up unconsciously.
It
I
was
mean,
funny.
even I still think about a Ouija board and I'm like, oh, I probably want to do that,
Yeah.
you know? And what, like, where am I shutting myself down from
Hmm.
being able to receive? Yesterday during the Mystique Society, it's our inner circle call, or we were talking about how to use our pendulums. And on the graph, and what is yes and what is no, that is communication with our higher self and our guides. We were having that shutdown of experience probably because if we all accessed our knowing in our higher selves, it might be a little bit harder to control us, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yikes. Uh, Shara said, "Didn't you wonder why they really tucked us in at night?"
Oh my God.
They really
That's
thought
so
at the
funny.
bewitching hour we were going to go crazy. It's little
That's
children.
so funny. I never even thought about it that way. So then we didn't fly around. Oh my God. My dad used to tell my grandma, well, my grandma told me this story. She said, I used to discipline the kids, and she had eight kids and six of them were boys. And one of them was my father. My father, she would go and spank them and stuff and discipline them, right? And she'd be like, that's okay. I can leave my body. When I go to sleep, I can fly out that hole in the ceiling and I can leave my body. There used to be like a little hole, like it's so weird in the closet. And my grandma would be like, what? And she told me that my dad would say that. And I thought that's so funny. But my dad was just like that. He was just a very different person. And I always laugh about that because he probably was lucid dreaming, right? And he felt that as a way to like get out of his discipline.
Wow.
That's okay. I'm gonna leave my body. I always think about that. And my grandma must have thought it was kind of funny because she was telling me about it later, and we were laughing and laughing. But when I think about it now, it's like, where are all the times where we have been told that it's not okay to even experience lucid dreaming, or it's not okay to tap into communicating with our guides? Because if we had that much power, I think the powers that be were afraid that we would start to make decisions from more of our full self.
Mhm.
And that keeps us not easily controllable.
Yeah. My parents made both, like when my mom was about to pass, about a month before, she made sure that she like guilted me in to get the children baptized. Now, I didn't really have any resistance around doing that. I do see that I was doing that for them, my parents,
Yes.
but she
Yeah.
she really felt like she was going to die, and my children weren't even baptized, and they weren't going to be there with her. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I had already reached a level by 2009 where I was like, this is just an act. But I did feel like, okay, well, they're getting baptized right now and right before you. But the wrongness that was kind of like underlying, like she made me feel like wrong for not getting my children baptized
Yeah.
or babies. Yeah. It's just like I just am like, but in our
I would have done the
they're
same though. I would have
baptized.
like, yeah, I would
And
have done it. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Let me just get them baptized so you feel better. Yeah.
totally. Sometimes you
Yeah.
have to do things like that for other people, even if it doesn't match your belief system. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to honor other people's belief system because you love them. You
Sure.
don't love all their beliefs, but you love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have to make such a big fight about it either, right? And then there is the sacred no too. But I also believe that there's a do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? And the truth is that you just wanted your mother to be happy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you wanted to feel some closure around that too. I get that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes we're just walking around trying to make ourselves feel right.
Plus, it made it easier for her to go over the Rainbow Bridge, knowing that they were baptized and they were going to be there alongside her someday.
Yeah, I get that. I totally
Isn't
get
that
that.
crazy? Ugh, I get the chills. So let's do a little. Do you want to do a little processing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, because I'm feeling like there's probably some thing or many, many
Yeah.
things, and there's probably a couple things popping up. So I'm wondering if we just take a minute and kind of like rest in the presence of you. I wonder if you could go back to one of those narratives where you truly felt made wrong for something that you actually felt was a greater expression of you, whether it was mystical or not. Let's just
Yeah.
once you get it, just go ahead and say thumbs up in the chat. Okay.
I'll say what mine is. I tried out for American Idol, and I got rejected. Had a
Right.
bad whatnot. I don't know if anybody caught that last time, but it
Yeah.
stayed with me. I was sad. I had a bad audition. I had blown out my voice because we just slept there all night. And either way, whatever the reasons were, that's what happened, right? And it was my God gift. And I had been singing since I was in third grade, and I sang in front of the whole school. Like, I mean, I was a singer, that was my thing. And to get rejected, it hurt. And so that's what it was, like a big expression, right? And then I'm like, oh, you're not good enough. Then I was like, ah. And I don't know if that was ever true or at all. It just wasn't my path.
It could have been true. It could have been true just
I
about,
could have, yeah, I mean, yeah,
you know,
true. I could,
where you were with
yeah,
other people,
I'm
right?
sure, right? I'm sure. But it wasn't my path.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really get a real audition anyway. Let's just go there first.
Yeah, I mean,
They didn't even choose the first 1,500 that was standing out there. And but that experience changed me and changed my approach to things. And I think unconsciously it rode in the background for a long time until I kind of excavated that out. And I was like, I didn't even know that bothered me at all, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but different things like that.
It's funny that brings up when I used to play varsity softball. And I
Uh-huh.
was really, really good on the JV team. I was like the first or second one that would go in the lineup because I could like really smack this ball. But then when I went from JV to varsity, I wasn't as good, right? And I
Yeah,
was at the
yeah.
very, very end of the line. And it's almost that because I was at the very, very end of the lineup, I actually feel like I sort of made myself worse. And then I get up and
Oh,
I like strike, strike, strike. I like
yeah.
strike out because I think that inherently was like, well, my tryout wasn't as good as some of my JV days. And now I was like in the kind of the substitution box. I was so sucky, right? But it makes an
That
impression,
wasn't
and
your,
especially
yeah.
in those years.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All right, so you got one of those narratives.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and change that narrative. If you could go back and you could not get rejected from American Idol, but then maybe you found out later that that wasn't your path at all, what would that story look like, right? And I'll do it with my softball, and y'all can do it in the head. Like, what if you actually did get what you wanted? Let's just play with that first. Instead of like just kind of making the internal different, let's actually make the outternal different.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So go
Okay.
ahead and create your new narrative. And now, how might that change your identity and how you show up today?
It's funny. It popped in my head. It'd be like, well, I'd be hosting a talk show like Kelly Clarkson
Nice.
because she won that year or like around that time.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I ended up here somehow. That's hysterical.
I feel like I would have been my more full expression faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
That'd
type in
still
the
be
chat, you
hosting a
guys.
talk show.
What is some of your things that's really comes up with this one? Just let us know. Like, what is it for you that might have shifted your entire reality if that one narrative was different? I'd like to hear.
If you
Oh
want to share,
boy.
you don't have to.
You don't have to share either. It's a longer share. But wow, I kind of did that last week in a funny sort of way. Awesome. Good for you. See, that was in the field.
Yeah.
Funny.
Anywhere where you believe that this type of stuff won't work, will you destroy and uncreate that, please? Or any resistance to us, this narrative change, will you destroy and uncreate that, please?
Yes, please.
And take a breath.
Mhm.
Anywhere where you believe this can work for other people, but not you, will you destroy and uncreate that, please? Anywhere where you think you've done this before. Oh, I've done this already.
Yeah, this is simple, linear stuff. Mm. Well, it
And
is,
take a
and but it's always worth doing, right?
yes.
Yeah.
It's an attitude, no muscle, y'all.
Yeah.
You don't just work out one time and end up all on our Schwarzenegger big.
Yeah.
Or let's just go with this rock. He's our current time. You don't end up all buff like that. You have to work out every day. Same thing with your attitudinal muscles, with your spiritual muscle. Same thing. You have to do these. You don't have to, but you do. It does require some heavy lifting sometimes. Just
And a
daily.
lot of
Little
surrender.
a lot of surrender, right? Just it's a practice. It's a daily practice for sure. And you get stronger and it gets faster.
It's hard to look at some of these things.
It is. That's why the heavy lifting came out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. There are so many times where I'm like, do I want to say that out loud? And I'm like,
Loud.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's funny, today, even this morning, it's okay if we bring this up. When
Yeah.
so I got Lyanca like called me out for getting too attached to a speaker and too emotional. And she's like, look, we're running a business. This is our process, is really
Yeah.
what we came through with. And I was trying to like it was almost that I tried to go out and get somebody to align and agree and like me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And Lyanca called me out on it. She's like, no, that's not the agreement. This is the agreement that we have, and this is how we work with speakers. And it was just kind of this moment that I was like, wait. And I'm like, no, I've run a business before you, and I want to do it this way, and my control freak came out and she was like, said something to the tune of so many personalities. And it was like, ooh,
Yeah.
right, because
Yeah.
and then I tried to make myself right by saying, but I really like this one. And she then called me out on that too, where it was, well, no, she just sat on it. She just didn't respond to my text, which just gave me extra time to process. I think it's just so funny. Like, I mean, here we are. I mean, I would say, we're advancing personal development here at the very minimum and
Yeah.
into this. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's kind of funny if you might respond, but give you 5 seconds, but and then you hit the field and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? And I find that, yes, that is my multi-personality. You get the me that's aligned with my higher self and things will come out that way. And then you get the me that is like pushing and controlling and trying to be right and trying to prove things and stuff like that. And I'll get there
No,
eventually. I'll get there eventually.
I did say I love you first.
Paula said everyone needs a Lyanca in their life. I was like, do not burn this bridge.
Yeah, I mean, and the truth is also our speakers are all going to have different personalities as well.
I think,
And we're not going to be able to appease everyone with all of our, and so that's why we have business practices. And as long as we stay true to what we say and where we are, and everything can be case by case, but you staying true to your alignment, then everybody can be in alignment, right?
I
Because
think that's
again,
doesn't that match what the transmission came with the
yeah,
multidimensional
yes,
selfhood?
yes,
That's
yes,
our selfhood,
yes, yes.
right?
And there are
We
going to be
bounce
times when
back, bounce
yeah,
around.
exactly. Exactly. Look, I mean, running a business and also running a business around personal development, it really does bring up a lot of mirrors. And luckily we get to rely on our tools to process and not let things get to us. And how fast can we get back to having a great day and a great show like this today, right? Like we get to hang
Huh.
out with you guys, and that's even better, honestly. And
I
talk about some of this stuff. Really,
I know.
we were gonna conversation a little exactly what needed to be. And
Totally.
yeah, I mean, really,
Yeah,
uh,
because in a way, I was like, after I had a couple of those downloads, I was like, ooh, I just want to share this with the audience. I don't really want to have a speaker. So
yeah,
maybe in the field, I
that's funny.
created this anyway. And then she's like,
Look,
I'm not feeling it. And I'm like, okay, great, because I am. I
yeah,
actually came to
yeah,
Lyanca and I was like, look, it's fine either way because I know where we can go today.
yeah, yeah.
Talk about divine intervention. Yeah, we just
Look,
need to start getting
everything.
stop human getting twisted around it.
And people can, and we all do. And it's if somebody cuts me off and they're sticking the finger and I'm like, whatever, right? Like, or maybe I'm driving too slow for somebody and they're like, I'm thinking, I've got my kid, I'm not going to sit there and play road rage with you. It's how fast we can get back to just our composure. What tools can I use to raise my vibration around this? And really, if I have like that kind of stuff, because people are getting killed over road rage now, I'll just send people love. I'm like, I'm sorry you feel that way, sending you love.
Yeah,
And I fill my car up with love and I fill theirs up with love and send them on their way. I feel like that's more powerful than some of the people coming out and pulling out guns for each other. That's just
yeah.
blows my mind. Um,
Uh,
thank you for
uh,
joining us, Love. Yes.
Thanks.
Um,
What
and
one
the
of
other,
the things that brought, well, go ahead. I
go
can.
ahead. Sorry.
Oh. One of the things that brought up at the Aerospace Museum is, watching these courageous people, the Wright brothers fly for the first time, or Amelia Earhart doing something that no other woman has done. And there's
Yeah.
another woman named Jerry that, once she got a hold of a plane early on, she was doing these relief efforts and just went to South America. And these people were profiled, and I was people doing balloons for the very first time and stuff like that. And it just makes me go, I was like, I was thinking, I don't have a courageous journey like that. And then I'm like, well, wait, this is probably the most courageous journey, is to say what you actually believe is true, know is true, and not back off and actually pursue, what is this? How can we change consciousness and kindness and even Gaia through having these various conversations to, help the planet. Sometimes we can just say, stop being so wasteful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it might sync with somebody and they actually will during that day respect that and go, wow, actually, yeah, every day I get McDonald's and every day I have all this trash. They might think something different from these conversations. And for me to not say it's courageous is making myself fall almost in that wrong category again. I mean, that's how fast this wrongness comes up. It's like too insignificant almost, but
Yeah, interesting.
not.
That's interesting for that. Caesar thinks we need to he says, you ladies need to take a vacation, like a very high spiritual location, maybe Taj Mahal, Mount Fuji, Japan, Hawaii. I'm thinking, yeah. And what can
Yeah.
we contribute to those spaces when we're there, to the planet while we're in those spaces? I'm down.
It was funny. I actually thought about doing this like outside at the mall. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, might be too crazy, but
How
maybe
pretty.
it would add energy by
Yes.
being, at other spaces and places,
Yeah. Yeah, for
or
sure, for sure.
Hawaii
We'll
someday.
get there.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Cool.
So one of the other things to process or maybe to look at is every time or any times that you get those moments where you're like having that doubt or you're having that wrongness, take a breath. Say
Hmm.
everything this is, will I be willing to destroy and uncreate? And breathe it out.
Yeah.
Just snap, just take that moment to snap into a different experience. And Joe, I like Joe's. He said, stick a finger in the light socket, change the energy. I don't care what you do.
He's like, I did that.
I love it. Mwah. But yes, that is what's being asked of us as this human experience is where we can change our energy, where we can raise our vibrations. And I know it sounds easier than it is, said and done. But as we use those tools every day, like I said, attitudinal muscle, we get better. We
Mm,
get stronger. We get ourselves back to those sevens, those eights, those nines, and how we feel.
yeah,
We don't let those five become threes. We don't spiral out. We spiral back up.
yeah. Alyssa
Mm.
said it's exhausting to be in the collective with all the shattering expansiveness that's going on. Yeah. And I mean, there's a beauty to it too. We can drop and stop concluding that it's it's exhausting for us. It could just simply be one word and one conversation, one present moment at the time. That's kind of how I see it. Um,
Explain that a little bit. So
yeah,
when
so
you operate, not to
I know where
downplay
you're going to
what
go with it.
everybody's feeling. hmm
Yeah,
Not to downplay what anyone's feeling because I too will I watch a lot of news. I just do.
yeah,
But I can feel the exhaustion. And last night I cried for a little boy that was left on the road. Anyway, I can feel like some things will make me feel some type of way.
yeah.
And I have to, so Jenna, talk a little bit about this, one moment, one expression at a time. I think it could help.
I mean, I too read the news. In fact, I sent you an article from the news yesterday, and I was and I mean, I will cry sometimes when
Thank you.
some of the deportation where there was this 19, 20-year-old that were deported and with the mom just took them to ICE, right? To figure out their green card. And next thing she knows, she's never going to see him again. I mean, this is like hatred and war in our humanity. And at the same time, all we can do is be an open heart for the people that are going through this. There's nothing else
Yeah.
we can do. So by us going out of our way and constantly feeling taxed by this is not actually being the contribution that would contribute to consciousness. Now, this
Yeah.
is also my point of view.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so you
Yes.
don't have to, but this has been my way to navigate it instead of it over consuming me, or instead of, gosh, me wanting to protest, because
Yeah.
I used to be that fiery person that was,
Yeah.
I need to have a voice in this. And I actually
Yeah.
felt that sometimes the protest and the feeding of the conversations actually then just gives more awareness to it, where it doesn't need any more awareness. All it needs is love sent. Yeah. Yeah, cool. I was hoping you got that more than it was just being said.
Look, it's the same kind of concept, and we're not saying don't protest. We're not talking any type of politics here. What we're saying is that sometimes when people say "fuck cancer," right? And I'm just gonna say that when they say that, they are pulling up an energy of a fighting. And I don't remember the exact quote from Mother Teresa, but basically, where we fight against something, we actually are bringing it more into the consciousness. You are actually creating more of the cancer when you are fighting against cancer, asking questions of yourselves and asking questions of yourself of healing, leaning in and understanding why this may be the implications for what someone is experiencing is actually healthier than going and saying, I'm gonna fight something, because you then lock it more into place. Can you feel that energy?
Yes.
That's what we mean here.
I like that. I like how you
Yeah.
explained that too. Yeah. I mean, well, look, we agreed to be here on this planet as a humanoid kind of person. So I feel like it's really our jobs to to really just say, I am this, and I get that there's all this hatred.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
really,
really,
mhm,
let's remember that we are all infinite beings here. And we may disagree with each other and stuff, but there's a place of oneness and wholeness that we are all bringing as different facets here. And where are those places where we can have more compassion for those that, wow, that give us a mirror
yeah,
and understand and seek to understand more?
yeah,
That's what will bring us and ourselves,
yeah.
asking ourselves, what are those things that I seek to understand?
Did you want to talk a little about the CE5 and kind of the relationship of this and the expanded, or, or do you want?
I didn't hear what you said, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I
sure.
had on our notes that we're going to talk a little about CE5, and now I realize
Let's
we're
go. Let's
coming to
go.
the end of
Yes,
the hour.
absolutely. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I thought was really cool when Jeneth was bringing up all of the stuff, the technological advances. Do you want to talk a little about that you were seeing right there at in space,
Well, I
like
don't know that
Space Center?
that's well, yes
Anyway,
and
so
no.
a
I
lot of
mean,
the
they
different
have a
things
lot of
that.
UFO books out now, though, which I was
Oh,
really
cool.
happy in 2018. I took pictures of them.
Hey, we're
I was
going
like, hey,
somewhere.
if this museum's recommending them, I better be reading them.
That's so cool, right? I would have, you're right. You probably didn't see stuff like that last time.
But look, if we are going to be hit on an actual Star War ever, not that I perceive that we will, I do think that we will have aliens that are more in our awareness in a very short time, maybe even in like two
Yes.
years' time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We already
but
having that now.
I think, and I feel like that will happen because we need to become more of this one race instead of this constant little tiny itty bitty bullshit. And maybe we're having this chaos and this disruption so that they're like, shit, we're going to have to intervene. And that we will become more of a one race.
And I don't want to use the word race, that we become more of the
One,
oneness, right? Because the
right.
race reminds me of that, like you're thinking this is so, and it's
Agreed.
just,
Agreed.
so skin deep. I was
That's
holding my
the
arm
wrong
up just
word.
for those who
Oh,
are on audio, pulling at my skin, but it's not significant here. And what is that right now, in the last 100 years, so Jeneth was telling me all about the different things that have been created in the last 100 years as far as like flight and space travel. And now first we were just trying to fly. Then we got to the moon within the last 60 years, right? Not the last, but within 60 years, that's what we created. And a lot of that has been shared that or theorized that it could have been reverse engineered from UFOs, right? So
oh,
our
right.
interactions with extraterrestrials, and so that we're starting to get more information. Now we're starting to see lots of people that are interacting with orbs, or they're seeing them in the sky. I mean, look, they're making themselves known. They're making themselves known on a much more wider scale. We're just not sharing enough information about it. But we now have the ability with CE5, and this is Stephen Greer's information, that where we can have our own direct contacts through meditation and get guidance. And remember, we're the people that are in the body, so we control our what we receive. Everything else has to oblige to the ones that control the bodies. And so I always say highest good, and I put that out first, so
Hmm.
that only the highest good can, for my highest good, for the highest good of anyone I interact with, I can receive from them, and then from there I can receive messages and my channeled messages from the Galactic Federation, from Metatron, from Archangel Michael. But as you practice this more, you get more guidance. And the most important thing is that you ask, what do these mean for me? What do
Hmm.
these downloads mean for me?
Yeah.
And because you are your own best guru, I always say that every time, right? So basically, what else can we create and innovate, and how can we show more oneness with this new information,
Hmm.
with our ability to actually make this contact on our own? We don't need to use our government. We don't need to use other people's testimonies. We can dive in and access that through our higher selves,
Love it.
and our guides.
Right. It's beautiful.
And it's my PSA for the day. By being in love, yes,
Yeah,
sure,
take your
yes.
soapbox.
I thought it was so cool because Jeneth was telling me all the stuff that she was seeing, and I thought, yeah, because that is the new
Yeah.
advancement.
No,
And
it
Stephen Greer
absolutely.
talks about it all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. He also
Aliens
talks,
are waiting for us to stop being militarized.
but yeah, right, because they're really benevolent beings too. You
Yes.
know, they would, it seems as if the ones that can reach us that have that technology are truly the ones that could actually contribute to us. And yet, as soon as we see a UFO, we're going to start shooting at it, even if it can disappear like that.
And
Um,
that's why they will show themselves to those who are ready. Like they even know our fear level. That's probably why I was joking with the Mystique last night. I was probably why I don't have a full-on apparition happen around in my house because they know that I have like, yo, it ain't time right now.
yep.
I'm too scary right here and right now at night, right? But I do have my transmissions when I ask for it because I have my own office hours, if you will. We are the ones in the body that control the communications. And so all of that can be acknowledged, especially when we put out the words of like higher, highest good. This is for the highest good and highest good of everyone around me. And then I sit and I allow myself to be in a place, starting with my heart, to connect and have that transmission. And then that's when I will have communication. Same thing with all of the other extraterrestrials that are floating around in our ethers right now that are protecting. Just like Jeneth said, they're not going to show themselves so that they're not just got shot at or anything like that. But we don't have to rely on the mass collective. In fact, we're as star seeds, as energy workers, as light beings here that already have this knowing. And if you're listening to this call, I'm pretty sure that you already know you do, even if it's just in the weirdest ways. We are being asked to really foster in this awareness of our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters and have these communications because from what I understand, there are a lot more people that there are a lot more communications of love from our brothers and sisters in the stars that and there are people that are willing to channel or that know how to channel. And so what we're being asked is to raise our hands and foster in this love as well. And to raise more awareness, right? To have our own communications and give ourselves our own autonomy
Hmm.
and power.
I know. It's such
Yeah,
a cool time.
it
So
is, right? It
I guess
is.
we'll
We don't
leave
have to
you.
hide from it anymore.
Yeah, we'll leave you reminding you to embrace your power today and join us in 2 weeks for the Force Awakening.
It's exciting. Oh gosh, we've got a great lineup. So it's the summit that we've got at the end of the month, starting May 26th through the 30th. And Jeneth, I can feel you. She's like, okay, let's wrap. So to
No,
wrap,
no, I'm okay. Talk about it.
she's on vacation, y'all. I get it. But to wrap and to summarize, we've got a great lineup. We've got on Monday, Hilary Faye is going to come and talk to us. And she is the hormone harmonizer using the Arcturian secrets to energetic alignment and wellness. And then next we'll have Teresa Greco, and she's going to talk to us about the human. Does money buy us happiness? What it does, right? What it really does. Where's the happiness come from? And then Judith Costa, she is a very profound channeler as well. And she also talks about the love that awakens via your Akashic field. And so she'll come on and do some channeling with us and talking about how we access that through the Akashic field. And then the next day we have Catherine Flynn, and she talks about how channeled wisdom helps you live on purpose. Yo, we're gonna have so many different people talking about channeling. How do we do it? Where are the areas that it can improve? Suzanne and Alexandria, she channels the Magdalene and the Akashic field. She'll be talking about Mary Magdalene and awakening your force within. Let's see, who else do we have? Oh, we just so we have Reed. Here we go. We have Dr. Stephen, Dr. Stephen, and he talks about he's a shamanic leader. He's written several different books, and he's going to talk about the ancestral lineages and how we can really remove some of that stronghold that we've had, and how we're operating from those places, and really acknowledge how we can use that to our benefit to having a better and more fulfilled life. I'm kind of
Cool.
paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
And let's see.
I feel
Uh,
like whenever we do a summit, everything changes though. So
I know, yeah, it's gonna be
we have
fun.
them all posted at houthustle.com
We
also.
do, but just so for those people who were just listening in, and I'm just trying to get you excited.
Yeah, it'll
One,
be
it's like becoming a force of nature with Reiki, and we've got Yolanda Williams. So it's
mm,
gonna be fun, a lot of fun, and we invite you to join us. The way that you get your all the different emails, and even if you are on our list now, just double check that you are by going to www.houthustle.com. That's HAUTE hustle.com. And just if you put your first name and your email in there, and then you'll get the emails for the day. And we will be sending, just a little PSA here, we'll send in daily emails during that time. So don't worry. It's the only time that we'll send out like that, you'll get your daily emails. But and then you can also decide if you want to put your name and your first name in your text, your
yep.
email, sorry, your phone number in to get daily reminders there. I promise again, we won't inundate you. We
Oh,
just want
just
to
one a
share
day.
the information.
Just
We just will share the information for just the summit. So, wanted to also let you know that we had tons of free gifts and lots of excitement around
yes.
the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like Jeneth wanted to say something in there too. Oh,
No,
cool.
I was just reading the comments. Dana says Yolanda is from Reiki Rays.
She's
She's cool.
cool.
Good.
Awesome.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
we've
sounds
got
pretty
some,
amazing, Joseph.
some old past people, but a bunch of new
New
blood.
faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be exciting. It's all Star Wars theme. We've got these cute little reels coming out. I'm excited to see how the last one got a lot of comments. It was like funny.
Yeah, you're like, okay, because we know we're being silly.
We
We're
we
being
know we're
silly.
being cheesy and silly, and it's just to bring awareness to it. We didn't, we just want to get people to
We
go,
know that the messages
this.
are
Yeah,
quite profound. Yeah.
yeah.
And they will be. But you know us, we always like to bring a lot of fun to everything that we do. Yeah. Anyway, so join us. It's May 26th through the 30th, and we start at 11 a.m. Pacific.
Yep. And we will be back in the studio next Tuesday, and we will see you then.
Fun is important. Yay. All right. Well, love y'all.